Before we begin, I want you to think about something. How many times have you heard the words, "He should have just complied"? Or, "If they had nothing to hide, why didn't they cooperate"? We've all heard it, but those statements ignore a harsh reality. Police encounters in our communities aren't always about right or wrong. They're about survival. For Black and brown people in America, a simple traffic stop, walking down the street, or standing outside your home can turn into a life or death situation, even when you've done nothing wrong. That's why we're here today. This isn't just another talk about rights, it's a survival guide. Because knowing how to carry yourself, knowing what to say, and just as importantly, what not to say, can be the difference between making it home safely or becoming another hashtag. The police have what they call policies and procedures to keep them safe. So you should have for yourself, so rightly so. You should know procedures to keep yourself safe. We're going to walk through the history that brought us here, the laws that shape these encounters, and most importantly, the steps you need to take before, during, and after a police stop. This is about empowerment through knowledge. You can't control how an officer sees you, but you can control how you respond. Remember this throughout the presentation. The goal is not to win the argument on the street. The goal is to get home safe. The fight for justice comes after. Let's get started. Let's start with the truth we can't ignore. Police encounters are a reality, especially in our communities. That interaction can come out of nowhere, whether you're driving, walking, or just minding your business. This presentation isn't about fear. It's about preparation. It's about knowing how to survive the moment, because survival comes first. The legal fight, the justice, that comes later. Today, we're going to equip you with practical knowledge, how to stay safe, protect your rights, and walk away from these situations alive and empowered. Every day, people who look like us face the possibility of being stopped by law enforcement, sometimes for a valid reason, but too often for no reason at all. The difference between a safe encounter and a tragic outcome is often determined by what you know and how you respond. This isn't just theory, this is survival training. We're going to cover how to handle yourself during a stop, what your rights are, and what steps to take afterward if things go wrong. Because knowing is not just power, it's protection. Slave codes and patrols. To truly understand modern policing, we have to go back to where it started, slave codes and patrols. Policing in America wasn't created to protect people who look like us. It was designed to control us. Slave patrols were the first form of organized policing, tasked with hunting down escaped slaves and keeping Black communities in fear.
Come here, boy. Come on. Where you going, boy?
On my way to Bartholomew's. Sent by Mistress Epps.
You best get there, then. Get there quick.
Slave patrols, stop and question. The tactic of stop and question isn't new. It's rooted in the slave patrols. Back then, any black person could be stopped, questioned, and forced to prove they had a right to be where they were. Fast forward to today, and we see the same mentality in policies like stop and frisk. The difference? The uniform may have changed, but the practice of suspicion based on skin color remains. That's why understanding this history is critical, because when you know the system's origins, you understand why it's still operating against us in many ways. What is the Terry stop? Now let's talk about the modern legal version of stop and question, the Terry stop. After the 1968 Supreme Court ruling, police were given the authority to stop you based on reasonable suspicion, not proof, not evidence, just suspicion. And if they think you might be armed, they can pat you down. This law opened the door for widespread abuse, especially in black and brown neighborhoods. So when you're stopped, understand this isn't always about what you did. It's about how the law allows them to view you. But knowing how to handle a Terry stop can prevent a bad situation from getting worse. However, in New York City, the NYPD's application of stop and frisk became the focus of national controversy, not because the policy itself was illegal, but because of how it was enforced. It can happen anytime. Here's the reality. Police encounters don't always happen because you did something wrong. You could be walking home, driving to work, or just standing outside with friends. All it takes is fitting a description, being in a so-called high crime area or a minor traffic violation. And for us, sometimes just existing in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough. That's why this conversation is so important, because it can happen to anyone at any time. The goal isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Simple questions, serious consequences. When a cop approaches you, it usually starts simple. What's your name? Where do you live? Do you have ID? But understand, these aren't just casual questions. How you answer, your tone, your body language, everything can shift the direction of that encounter. This is where people get caught off guard. The wrong reaction, even if unintentional, can escalate things. That's why you need to stay calm, answer what's legally required, and avoid offering more than necessary. Simple questions can turn serious real fast if you're not careful. What to do? Let's talk strategy, because surviving a police stop is about control, not controlling them, but controlling you. Stay calm and respectful, no matter how disrespectful they might be. Keep your hands visible, because the minute they can't see your hands, they claim fear. Comply with lawful orders, but remember you can ask, am I being detained? And always, always document what happened after the stop. These actions won't guarantee fairness, but they can keep you alive and give you a chance to fight back the right way, legally. What not to do. Now, just as important as knowing what to do is knowing what not to do. Don't argue your case on the street. That's what court is for. Don't make sudden moves, because they'll use that as justification. Don't touch an officer or their equipment ever. And never lie or offer fake documents that turns a stop into a criminal charge. Most importantly, don't resist physically, even if you know you're being wrong. The priority is to survive the moment so you have the power to challenge it later. Your mission is to get home safely. If there's one thing you remember from this presentation, let it be this. Your mission is to get home safe. What cops can do. Let's be clear about what officers are allowed to do so you don't get caught off guard. Yes, they can stop and question you if they claim reasonable suspicion. Yes, they can ask for ID and in some cases, order you out of your car. If they think you're armed, they can pat you down. Knowing these rights prevents surprise and helps you recognize when they cross the line. Awareness is your first defense, what cops cannot do. Now, here's where your power comes in. Knowing what officers cannot legally do. They can't search you or your car without consent or probable cause. They can't force you to answer questions beyond ID. They can't detain you indefinitely. And they absolutely cannot use excessive force or take your phone for recording. But remember, they might try. That's why calmly asserting your right, like saying, "I do not consent to a search," is so important. Steps to follow when pulled over. A traffic stop is one of the most common and dangerous encounters. First, pull over safely. Keep your hands visible. Turn on your dome light if it's dark. These small actions signal to the officer that you're not a threat. Wait for instructions. Don't fumble around looking for documents until asked. It's about keeping the officer's anxiety low while keeping yourself protected. Once the officer approaches, stay respectful, but know your rights. Provide your license, registration, and insurance that's required. But you don't have to answer probing questions like, "Where are you headed?" If they ask to search your car, calmly say, "I do not consent." Afterward, always get their information: badge number, name, patrol car number. And if you get a ticket, sign it. You can fight it in court, not on the roadside. Your mission is to get home safely. Survival is the priority. Whether it's a street or traffic stop, the rules don't change. Stay calm, stay in control, and make it home. Don't let ego, anger, or fear dictate your actions. Remember, every step you take is about minimizing risk in that moment. Again, let me be clear. This is about how to survive police confrontation. I see too many young black men and girls trying to be street-side lawyers or activists, and many times they have no clue what they're talking about and only make a situation worse. The end game is to get home safe and work it out afterwards. What to do if your rights have been violated? Step 1. If you feel your rights were violated, don't react emotionally on the scene. That's dangerous. Once you're safe, document everything. Write down the time, place, officers' details, what was said and done. Get witness info if possible. This record is your weapon in holding them accountable. File a formal complaint. Step 2. The next move is official. File a complaint with Internal Affairs or your local civilian review board. This creates a paper trail and puts pressure on the department. Always keep copies of everything you submit. Paperwork forces accountability. Contact legal support. Step 3. Don't try to fight this battle alone. Reach out to organizations like the NAACP, ACLU, or a qualified attorney. Legal backing shows you're serious, and it can protect you from retaliation or dismissal of your complaint. Notify elected officials and community orgs. Step 4. Shine a light on your case. Inform your city council, mayor, and community leaders. When public officials know people are watching, they're more likely to act. The louder your case, the harder it is for them to sweep it under the rug. Quick recap: the accountability process. Let's review. Get home safe, document everything. File your complaint, get legal help, notify officials. This is how you turn a violation into action. It's not always fast, but it's the path to justice. As we close, I'll say it again. Your mission is to survive the encounter. None of these steps matter if you don't make it home. Stay calm, stay smart, and live to fight another day. Police encounters aren't always fair, but knowing how to navigate them gives you power. Whether you're right or wrong in that moment isn't the issue. The issue is making sure you're here to tell your story and demand justice afterward. Share this knowledge with your family, your friends, your community, because survival starts with awareness. This presentation is for informational purposes and does not constitute legal advice. Always consult a licensed attorney for guidance on specific situations, and laws may vary by state.